Maisie, are you there? We have to have a serious talk right now. I've had just about enough of this. Did you really eat my food out of the fridge? I made that food for me to eat and put the leftovers in the fridge to be my meal when I got home. Now I have nothing to eat.
Hey there, Cheryl. Nice to hear from you too. If you really must know, Barry told me that it was if I ate that stuff. So I don't get why you think it's okay to be coming at me like this when it isn't even my fault. If you're really going to be so upset over this, maybe next time you should make enough food to feed the whole house. Have you ever thought of that?
And just what makes you think that I should have to cook your food as well as my own? Aren't you capable of cooking your own?
Did you seriously just say that to me? Are you being serious right now?
You know, I was okay with it happening if it was a couple times a month. I can let things like that slide. But you've been stealing my food out of the fridge almost every day now. I buy all of the ingredients myself, and now I've been paying for 2 or 3 people's worth of food just to have enough for myself. If you really want to eat my cooking, then the least you can do is help pay for it.
Wow, I really just can't believe you right now. Are you seriously trying to extort your husband's little sister for money with this shtick?
Look, I remember that you once told me that you worked freelance and only ever took home about $1,500 a month. It isn't like I can't understand why you would want someone to pay for your food.
I don't know what you're talking about. I just figured that since we're sisters-in-law now that you would want to make sure that I was always taken care of. I mean, my brother is letting you live in his house after all. It really is the least you could do. But honestly, to try and steal from your own sister-in-law like you're doing now? Well, I guess I just never thought you were that kind of person.
Are you seriously bringing this nonsense up again? You know that this isn't how things really are.
Well then, why don't you tell me how things really are then, huh?
The house that we're all living in belongs to my parents. How many times are you going to make me repeat myself?
Well, that might be true, but my brother is the one who earns all the money at home, right? So basically, if it weren't for him and his income, we wouldn't be able to live here, right? So the way I see it, the house really belongs to my brother.
You do know that I also have a job, don't you? I mean, you do realize that we both do leave the house every day to go to work where we have to earn our own income, right?
Right, but the main earner for the house is actually my brother, right? I mean, he earns more than the rest of us.
But the fact is that the house is my parents' house. It's my childhood house. You do understand that, right?
Cheryl. Don't you ever get tired of having the same conversation over and over again? I mean, can you really not see how selfish you're being? I'm going to show all these messages to Barry and make him set you straight. You're going to regret going up against me.
Cheryl, what is the matter with you? I just finished talking with Maisie and she told me all about the horrible things that you were saying to her. I thought I told you that you need to quit fighting with her. I think the least you can do to make up with her is to cook her dinner tonight. Honestly, how can you be so selfish and cruel to someone like Maisie?
All right then, Barry. I can do that if you pay me for the food that Maisie is going to eat.
Excuse me? You can't be serious about that, right? I know that you didn't seriously just suggest that to me. Do you even hear yourself right now? Honestly, sometimes dealing with you can be so difficult.
You probably already know this, but Maisie actually puts a lot of stock into you around here, even though it's my house. She seems to think that you have the run of things because you earn the most money. And yet, despite earning all that money, why aren't you doing more to pick up your sister's expenses if you pity her for having them so much?
Oh, what? This again? I don't think we really need to open this can of worms again.
Listen to me. Maisie used to only come over a few times a month, and I had no problem with it. But now she's here almost every day and is driving me up the wall. This house belongs to me, and I would just like a bit more privacy while here.
I see. So basically what you're saying is that you're going to try and go against me, the real breadwinner of the house?
Wait, what? What are you talking about right now? Please tell me that you didn't actually just say that. Do you even realize how ridiculous you're being right now?
That's right. I finally get what you've been trying to say this whole time. And if that's how you're going to be, then I will always take Maisie's side over you.
You can't be serious about this right now, right?
No, of course I'm serious. I'm the older brother, and it's my job to watch over my little sister. She's my family, and it's my duty to take care of her. You're the one in the wrong here.
And just what are you going to do about it, huh? Kick me out of my house?
Well, I have no other choice. I mean, if you're going to treat my little sister that way, then you have to be punished somehow, don't you think?
Hey, why don't we all calm down here for a moment and think really hard about this? Are you really sure there isn't something important that you're forgetting right now?
Don't try and come at me with your usual threats. They aren't going to work on me this time. Maisie and I are going to stay at my parents' tonight, but tomorrow we're both coming home, got it? You have until then to move out of the house with all of your belongings in tow, or else I am divorcing you.
Oh, I see. Well, I guess I could always try and go to stay with some friends or something then.
I don't care where you go, just get out of this house already.
All right already. I understand it. Well, goodbye then.
Just stop texting me and leave already. If you can text, then you can pack. We want you out of this house right now. Hey, Cheryl, are you there? I'd really like to talk if you have a second. I feel we haven't talked since you left the house. I'm wondering if enough time has passed for you to think about what you did wrong. I just want you to know that if you're ready to apologize, then we can let you back in. But until then, you aren't allowed to come back home, okay? I mean, honestly, what is the point of keeping up all this fighting? For pride? That's silly. Just come back home and apologize to Maisie and I, and we can put all this behind us. Don't you see that?
Cheryl, are you there? Please stop this already. I mean, just how long do you think you can keep this up? All you have to do is come back home, say that you're sorry, and then my brother will forgive you for everything. Don't you want to come home? Don't you want to save your marriage? You can do all that, I promise. You just have to come to us and say that you're sorry for everything. Okay, seriously, Cheryl, what is going on here? Why are we having these heavy boxes being sent to the house right now? What is the meaning of this? Barry's gone to work, and I can't seem to get a hold of him. I need answers now. Do you understand me? Get back to me when you see these messages. Cheryl, are you there or not? This strange old couple showed up at the house and they wouldn't leave until I beat them up and threw them off the property. I told them that the house belonged to my older brother, but they just didn't seem to believe me. They told me that they left the house to their daughter and didn't know how I was.
Maisie, are you serious? Have you seriously not figured out what's going on here yet?
Cheryl, you finally answered me. I want answers, and I want them now! Who were those old people? Are they friends of yours or something? Did you send them here to try and kick us out of the house? How could you be so cruel?
Do you really think those two old people are just complete strangers, totally unrelated to this situation? That was actually the second time ever that you've met those people.
Well then, who are they? I seriously have no idea who those old people were supposed to be.
They were my parents! Duh!
Wait, those two people were your parents?
That's right. My parents moved away to another state about 5 years ago because my dad got a transfer in his job. He just finished his stint away, and the two of them are finally coming back to their home. All those boxes that are showing up are full of their belongings.
No, you can't be serious about this. I mean, it's not their house. It belongs to my brother.
Maisie, you know that we've gone over this again and again and again. I told you that the house belongs to my parents.
But, so, you were being honest about all that?
Of course I was. And just because you tricked yourself into seeing it some other way doesn't change the facts on the ground. Did you seriously think I was lying about any of what I said?
So then, whose name is it on the deed to the house then? Yours or your parents'?
If you really want to know, my dad is written down as the owner of the house. I was taking care of the house while being allowed to stay in it while the two of them were away for work. That was just before Barry and I got married, and I invited him to move in with me and live together. Now, do you realize that you've been officially kicked out of that house?
I guess so. I suppose it would be weird for me to keep staying here if your parents were going to be living here.
Good. I'm glad we have this settled then. Now, why don't you run off back to your house already?
Hold on a second. What if my brother just buys the house from your parents? What do you think about that?
You're not serious about that, are you? You want him to buy the house.
Of course I'm serious. I mean, just think about it. If Barry buys the house, then nothing has to change at all.
Yeah, I really don't think that is going to work out well for you at all.
Why not? It's the perfect plan. I mean, Barry works for a huge company. Surely he earns enough to buy any house that he wants.
So I guess you really had no clue about any of the truth after all, huh?
The truth? What do you mean by that? What are you talking about?
This is going to be tough coming from me, but Barry only takes home about $1,700 a month.
Hold on a second. What did you just say? My older brother only earns $1,700 a month?
Well, even though Barry and I work at different companies, we're both about the same position in our respective jobs, and I make double what he makes.
Wait a second. You earn twice as much as Barry makes?
That's right. Although I guess I should make a connection. We're of similar rank in the company, but Barry is a temp, and I'm not.
Wait, what? Why am I just hearing about all this for the first time? What is going on here?
It was about a year after Barry and I got married. He made a huge mistake that ended up costing him his job, and he has always had trouble finding new work after that. He had actually stopped looking for some time before I told him that he needed to do something, so he went to work for a temp agency. Ever since then, he's been doing the same thing.
Seriously, I had no idea about any of this. I mean, is my brother really just a temp?
You can choose to believe me or not. It really doesn't affect the reality of the situation either way. But you should know that I've been paying for all of the utilities, food, and everything else that we've all been using at this house. That is why I have a problem with you spending more and more time here and suggesting that I pay for everything that you need as well.
I don't believe this. This is all too much to take in at once.
Well, anyways, I say all of this to explain to you why your brother won't be able to just buy this house like it's nothing.
So he's just another bum? Earning nothing?
I'm glad that you finally understand the situation. Now please, pack up your things and leave my house already. I can make sure to send some of your boxes to your address. The sooner you leave, the better.
But my parents are going to be so mad at me if I go back. Please don't make me go back there. You have no idea how strict they've always been. But if they found out some of the things I was saying to you or doing, then I don't know what they'll do to me.
Don't worry. I actually already called ahead to your parents, explained to them everything, and asked them not to be too mad at you.
So, you talked to my parents about all this already? They know about everything already? Oh no, this is really bad. What am I gonna do? I'll be in huge trouble back home.
That's right, I did. I imagine that they will be somewhat mad, but I don't think either of us can really blame them for that, right?
I suppose you're right, but I'm really scared.
That's okay. You just go on home now, okay?
I'm so sorry for everything I did and said before, Cheryl.
Cheryl, are you there? This is really serious. You had better get back to me. I had completely forgotten that your parents were getting back here today. Why didn't you ever remind me that they were coming today? I just got back from work and I saw the two of them there waiting for me. They looked so pissed. When I walked up to them to greet them, they both just started yelling at me, launching into this tirade about all the things wrong that I've done. Not only that, but I heard that you told Maisie about my job? Why would you do that? You've completely ruined the image that she has of me. Now my only sister hates me, and it's all your fault. Even my parents don't want me to live at their place anymore. What am I supposed to do? You have to help me.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We're getting a divorce.
Wait, what? You can't be serious, right? You really want to end things with me? I don't even understand what I did that was wrong. Please don't do this to me.
Of course I am. I am very serious.
But then I'll have nothing, no one. What am I supposed to do without you? Please don't do this to me. I need your help. Cheryl, please, come back. You can't leave me.
Without anywhere else to go, Barry had no choice but to try going to his parents' house one more time. Barry's parents have always really liked me, and when he went back, they were still furious with him for what he did to me. They also had no idea he was working for a temp agency. After our divorce, he found a new job at a famously strict company. Although even after starting work there, he never regained the confidence of his little sister. I heard that he didn't even last long at the company, and was eventually forced to go back to his parents for a second time. Maisie, now totally disillusioned with her older brother, decided to enroll in a beauty class and studied until she found a job at a salon and raised enough money to move out and live on her own, away from the rest of her family.
Adriana, why are you at Dad's funeral?
Huh? What do you mean why I'm at his funeral? Weren't all of Dad's relatives invited to come?
Stop pretending like he was your dad, Adriana. You're pretending like you were his family during yesterday's wake, too. Do you know how annoyed I was at seeing you?
But I'm his daughter, so I wanted to say farewell to him as well.
Huh? It seems like you have some sort of misunderstanding, but it's extremely rude to sit with his family when you're just an adopted child.
What? I know I was only adopted, but he raised me like his own daughter ever since I was a young child. I don't even remember who my real parents were.
It doesn't matter whether he raised you or not when you're not actually related to him by blood. You're not related to me either. I call you my sister just for convenience, but I don't really think you're my sister, alright? You're always just fucking Adriana in my mind. But I'm the daughter of a CEO, so I can't say such things out loud, right? I feel as if I'm being punished whenever I have to call you my sister, but it can't be helped.
Ophelia, why were you always this mean to me?
Why shouldn't I be mean to you? Even though you weren't even Dad's real child, he always treated you better than me, his actual daughter, for some goddamn reason. But just because I call you my sister doesn't mean you can pretend to be his daughter at his funeral. Dad was always nice to you, but I'm not going to be the same. I'm his real daughter, not you. You're basically just a stranger to him, you know?
I'm sorry. I didn't know you felt like that all this time. I guess it must have been difficult seeing your father treat us differently. But still, what you're saying is just going too far. Just because I wasn't related to him by blood doesn't mean that we couldn't have had a meaningful relationship as father and daughter.
Shut it. Just leave the funeral right now. I don't want to hear any of your excuses. Ugh, I always hated how you were like this. Every time I get mad at you, you always pretend like you did nothing wrong and I'm the bad guy. For once, could you just admit you were wrong?
Adriana, are you alright?
Oh, hi, Irvis. It's fine. I just got a little bit wet. It's not like she hurt me or anything.
Someone saw Phila dumping a bucket of water on you and told me about it. Where are you right now?
I'm at the rental clothes store near the funeral.
Oh, so you rented morning clothes to go to the funeral?
Yep. Someone from the shop saw that Philly had dumped a bucket of water on me and brought me here.
I'm glad things seem to be alright. They're gonna give you new clothes, right?
Yeah, thankfully the owner's a kind person. I also thought of borrowing a wig and some glasses.
What? For what would you need a wig and glasses for?
To disguise myself. So I could sit with the rest of the relatives without being noticed.
What? You don't have to hide like that, Adriana. You did nothing wrong. He's your father.
But...
I'll sit next to you the whole time and prevent anyone from doing anything strange.
What? You'll do that for me?
You're my fiancé. I already got permission to sit with your relatives, so it's not gonna be a problem. Even Phila will have no choice but to behave if she's in front of a crowd of people. Don't worry about it. return to the funeral and say goodbye to your father. Even though you weren't related to him by blood, you were probably closer to him than anyone else in that funeral, even Phila.
Irvis, I wouldn't know what I would do without you. Thank you. I'll return as soon as I change.
What is your problem? Why is Irvis standing watch next to you the whole time?
Hello, Philia. I know you were mad at me, but dumping a bucket of water on my head like that was rude. I would have been glad to settle our differences, but you didn't want to talk to me.
This again. I hate how you always make me seem like the bad guy. You don't seem to understand yet. You're not supposed to be at this funeral. Also, Irvis is supposed to be my fiancé, not yours.
Huh? What does Irvis have to do with this? And what do you mean he's supposed to be your fiancé?
I mean, shouldn't a person who's going to inherit father's company marry the CEO's only daughter? Mom said that as well. And besides, he's too good for you anyways.
Are you trying to say that it's already decided that Irvis is going to be the next CEO? Where'd you get that information?
I mean, isn't it obvious? For some unknown reason, he's engaged to you, who isn't actually related to father, but it was supposed to be me, you know? This is a good opportunity, so I'll be taking Irvis from you, okay?
That has nothing to do with whether Irvis is going to be the next CEO. What you're saying doesn't make any sense, Philia.
You're so frustrating to talk to. You're going to leave this funeral and Irvis is going to be mine, period. Oh, I almost forgot. There's something Mom wants to tell you. Don't think that a stranger has a right to receive an inheritance, she said.
Sorry, but I'm not going to leave the funeral, and I'm not going to give you Irvis as well. And what's that about the inheritance? Is she telling me to let go of my portion of the inheritance when he was my father as well?
Fine. Stay at the funeral if you want. Just know that you aren't welcomed here. Oh, and as for Irvis, I'll take care of him myself later. And yes, that's what Mom is saying. I agree with her, by the way. Why should a complete stranger inherit stuff from my dad, who was a CEO? He probably has a fortune waiting for me.
I don't think this is something we should be talking about the day of the funeral. It's impolite. Dad's will is going to be released by a lawyer after the memorial service takes place, right? The company can't just wait until it's released. So it seems that they're holding meetings to decide who the next CEO is going to be. So I think it's best not to say or do anything stupid for now.
I didn't quite get what you said, but I'm going to take Irvis from you, alright? Irvis himself will probably choose me, the CEO's real daughter, over a complete stranger like you, if he's going to go after the position of CEO.
Well, I guess we are just strangers to each other. I can understand why you don't like me, but it's not an excuse to treat me the way you're currently treating me.
Finally, you understand. It's fine with me, whatever you think, as long as you get out of my life. Looks like you messed up, Adriana. Irvis, the next CEO of Dad's company, is going to be mine now. Too bad, I guess.
But it was already decided before Dad passed away that Irvis wouldn't be the next CEO.
Huh? What are you talking about? What do you mean he's not going to be the next CEO? Hi, Irvis. I'm your new fiancé from now on, so I hope we can get along.
Huh? What are you talking about, Filler? My fiancé isn't you, but Adriana, your sister?
Oh, that's been canceled.
Huh? Canceled? What do you mean?
Dad messed up a bit, so you for some reason got engaged to Adriana, but in reality, you're supposed to marry me, not her. Which is why I'm gonna fix things now that Dad is gone.
My marriage with Adriana has nothing to do with the company's interest, though.
But just a little bit longer and I'll get my hands on Dad's inheritance. If you don't marry me, then the position of CEO is gonna be harder to obtain, you know?
I don't quite follow.
What?
It doesn't matter what you say. My fiancée is Adriana. I have no intention of getting married to any other woman. Goodbye.
What's the meaning of this? Why are you the next CEO? This has got to be some sort of mistake. What dirty trick did you use to make this happen?
Philia, it looks like you're misunderstanding.
What? How am I misunderstanding?
I'll try to explain to you what happened, alright?
Fine, explain it then.
Well, we first need to talk about why your father adopted me.
It's because mom and dad couldn't quite bear a child, right? But I was miraculously born after they adopted you.
It's true that they couldn't bear a child before they adopted me, but everything else is wrong.
Huh?
They didn't tell me how much you knew, but it seems that I'm Dad's biological nephew.
What? His nephew?
Yes, I'm his sister's daughter. His sister and her husband, meeting my real parents, suddenly passed away after getting into an accident. So your father took custody of me and adopted me as his daughter. That's what I heard.
Oh, is that so? So, does that mean we're cousins?
Yes. About the next CEO of the company, then. Dad's company evaluates people entirely on their skill. It's just a coincidence that the next CEO, me, also happened to be related to the previous CEO. I was one of the employees who were chosen as candidates for the next CEO. And luckily, they noticed my hard work and chose me.
So what about Irvis?
I've been going out with him since I was in the second year of high school. I'm only marrying him because I want to. It has nothing to do with the company.
No way, but I heard that he was competent at his job. He was at least chosen as one of the candidates for the next CEO, right?
I didn't know you had that wrong as well. Irvis isn't even an employee at our company. Where did you even get that information?
Seriously? But I always thought that Dad had brought the two of you together since he was planning to make Irvis the next CEO.
What? You read way too many short stories, Philia. Well, do you understand the situation now? There's a lot of things I need to learn if I'm going to be the next CEO, so I'm quite busy. Bye.
This can't be true. This is completely different to what I thought was happening. Why did I get everything so wrong? Why? Why is Dad's will like this? You inherit all of Dad's property, and me and Mom just get a few gifts.
It's just as the will says. Apparently you're Dad's child legally, but your father was actually a different man, and you were only born because Mom cheated on Dad. I was surprised when I saw this on the will, too. It looks like Dad even has proof that you aren't his real daughter, so there can't be a mistake.
What?
I'm sure Dad was conflicted by this fact all this time. He probably could have divorced Mom whenever he wanted to with the proof that she cheated on him. He could have even threw you away with her since you weren't his actual child.
Huh? So after all this time, you were the one who's related to Dad and not me? Why didn't he tell me about this sooner?
Dad wasn't the type of person to discriminate between us just because of the conditions surrounding our birth. He probably didn't tell us to keep the family safe. Maybe he knew that he and Mother would have gotten divorced. This proves that he did in fact care for you as well, Philia. Because if he hadn't, he would have just left the family fall apart and leave you and your mother to your own devices. You were just too blinded by jealousy to see that he cared for you as much as he did as me. I think what's written on his will is his final decision after years of inner torment, so I'm gonna do as Dad's will says. Goodbye for now, Philia. I hope that one day we can come to terms with each other and be the siblings that we always were.
But if he cared for me as much as he cared for you, then why did he give you more inheritance? I want that money as well. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I was supposed to get rich after Dad died. Irvis, marry me instead of Adriana.
Huh? Phila? What in the world are you talking about? Why should I marry you?
You see, I was such an unlucky child all this time.
Oh, you mean how you weren't your father's actual child? I guess it's a bit ironic how you kicked Adriana out of her father's funeral because she wasn't actually related to him, when in reality, you were the one who wasn't related to your father, and she was.
Yes, I never wanted this to happen. And I can't even receive an inheritance because of Adriana.
What does Adriana have to do with this? Your father simply gave Adriana more money than you and your mother, simply because he thought Adriana would make better use of it, I think. I doubt he was petty enough to give Adriana more money just because he liked her more. It simply isn't good parenting. You and your mother are housewives without a job, right? But Adriana has a promising career. In fact, she's now the CEO of her father's company. And so that's probably why he gave her the money.
But if Adriana never existed, then at least I would have been Dad's only legal child, and me and Mom would have been able to receive an inheritance. Isn't that so?
Philia, do you realize that you're being extremely rude to Adriana?
What? Who cares if I was being a bit rude? I was only telling her the truth. She was trying to lay claim to Dad's inheritance even though she was just a stranger to him. That's why I told her to get out of my sight.
It's true that the business of inheritances can be delayed and people need to handle them logically. But after your father died, while everyone else was quietly mourning your dad with whatever thoughts they might have had for him, the sight of you and your mother looking so excited for the inheritance was disturbing, simply put. I'm not surprised your dad chose to give his inheritance mainly to Adriana. With that personality of yours, I'm actually surprised he didn't divorce your mother and let go of you sooner. It just goes to show how kind of a man he was.
It's not like that. Dad always treated Adriana better than me, and now I know why. It's because I wasn't actually his real child, and Adriana was his nephew all along. And I never intended for it to seem like I wasn't sad about my dad's death and only cared about the inheritance, Irvis. I was sad about Dad's death just like everyone else. You just didn't notice it. And what do you mean, that personality of yours? I'm a much better person than Adriana. She just pretends to be the saint when in reality, she just does it to make people like her. And me and Mom are the only person who realize it.
I knew that's what she would say. It's not like your dad ever told me anything, but I don't think that he treated Adriana better than you simply because you were the child of another man. And Adriana was his nephew. Adriana's father was the kind of person that judged someone entirely on who they are as a person. You can see it in how he runs his company, where employees are evaluated entirely on their scale, right? This means that your father was more fond of Adriana than you simply because he liked her better as a person. Although, I will admit that a father treating their children with different levels of love is a bit unfair, and I'll forgive you a little bit for that. But saying that you never intended for it to seem like you weren't sad about your dad's death and that you only cared about the inheritance, it's actually just as bad as saying that you did intend for it to look like that. Because now you're just someone that has no regard for manners and what other people think.
Irvis, don't say things like that. It wasn't my fault that I wasn't actually my father's child and that Adriana was his niece. I didn't ask for any of this to happen. Please, I have no one else to depend on. Why don't you want to marry me?
I feel bad for your situation, but sorry, I'm not going to marry you no matter how much I pity you. Because I love Adriana and no other woman. Goodbye, Philia. I hope that you someday find happiness of your own.
Dad was the owner of the house Philia and her mother lived in, but it was now my house after the inheritance. It seems the two were too proud to live in a house owned by me, so they used the little money they received as a gift from Dad to find an apartment. Actually, the gift money they received was only little compared to the rest of the inheritance, but it was still quite a large sum of money. But for some reason, the two of them decided that these were the funds they needed to start gambling, even though they needed that money to get by until they could start providing for themselves. Even though they intended to earn some easy money by winning, they eventually lost all of it. Now the two of them support themselves by working at a job that comes with housing. But since the two of them have never worked a day in their lives, they frequently make mistakes and get scolded by the other employees. The two now live in poverty and constantly have fights, it seems. Me and Irvis, on the other hand, got married a few months after the memorial service took place, which is also when I started to be more comfortable with my new position as the CEO. We decided to find a new house as a way of putting the past behind and starting anew. And I decided to sell the house I inherited from Dad. I kind of feel bad for Philia. After all, she thought that she was her dad's real child her whole life. But to be honest, I don't think Dad was the kind of person to judge a person based on something like that. So I also feel that what happened to her was ultimately her own doing.